So we see as we continue from the mystery of the silent brotherhood of the East, chapter 17, Yahshua passed the fourth brotherhood test, takes the fourth degree of adept. The choicest viands and most delicious wines were on the boards. So viands are just food. And maids in happy attire served all with grace and cheerfulness. And men and women richly clad or dressed were there. And they were wild with joy. They sipped from cheery cups of mirth. So mirth, when you hear mirth, is think about outbursts of laughter, um, amusement, in that type of space, mirth. They sipped from cheery cups of mirth, and Yahshua watched the happy throng in silence for a time. Throng, throng, um, crowd. It's some interesting words in here, and it forced me to look it up when I first went over it, but it's not common words. So throng is a crowd. Throng. And Yahshua watched the happy throng in silence for a time. And then a man in garb of sage came up and said, most happy is the man who, like the bee, can gather sweets from every flower. Most happy is the man who, like the bee, can gather sweets from every flower. The wise man is one who seeks for pleasure and can find it everywhere. At best, man's life on earth is short, but then he dies and goes, he knows not where. Then let us eat and drink and dance and sing. Let us get joy of life, for death comes apace, or swiftly, right? Apace, synonymous for quickly or swiftly, right? Death comes quickly. It is but foolishness to spend a life for other men. Behold, I die and lie together in the grave, where none can know and none can show forth gratitude. But Yahshua answered not. So this how they're getting at Yahshua. This is what Yahshua is hearing. But Yahshua answered not. Upon the tinsel guest and all their rounds of mirth, right? Laughter and outbursts, he gazed in silent thought. And then among the guests, he saw a man whose clothes were coarse, who showed in face and hand the lines of toil and want. Right? Toil. It looked like he'd been working a lot. The giddy throng, right? The giddy throng or the giddy crowd found pleasure in abusing him. They jostled him against the walls and laughed at his discomfiture, or how uncomfortable he looked, or how odd he looked to them. They laughed at him. This crowd, this giddy crowd, that's right, that Yahshua was just looking at, observing. And a poor frail woman came, who carried in her face and form the marks of sin and shame. And without mercy, she was spit on. So now the crowd spitting on women. Poor frail women getting spit on now, right? This is what Yahshua is observing. And a little child with timid ways. And hungry men came in and asked for just a morsel of their food. But she was driven out and uncared for and unloved. And still the merry dance went on. And when the pleasure seekers urged that Yahshua join them in their mirth, in their laughter, he said, how could I seek for pleasure by myself when others are in want? How can I think that while the children cry for bread, while those in haunts of sin call for sympathy and love, that I can feel myself too full with the good things of life? I tell you, nay, we all are kin, each one a part of the great human heart. I cannot see myself apart from the poor man who you so scorned and crowded to the wall, nor from the one in female garb who came up with haunts of vice to ask for sympathy and love, and who by you was so ruthlessly pushed back into her den of sin, nor from that little child you drive from your midst to suffer in the cold, bleak winds of night. I tell you, men, what you have done to them, my kindred, you have done to me. You have insulted me in your own home. I cannot stay. I will go forth and find that child and that woman and that man and give them help until my life's blood all has ebbed away. I will call it pleasure. Then I help the helpless, feed the hungry, clothe the naked, heal the sick, and speak good words of cheer to those unloved, discouraged, and depressed. And this that you call mirth is but a phantom of night, but flashes of fire of passion, painting pictures on the wall of time. And while the Logos spoke, the white robed priest came in. And while the Logos spoke, right, we cover Logos, right? He's activated the Christ, right? And so now the Logos is still Yahshua. Now that's his other name, the Logos. We're talking about Yahshua still. And while the Logos spoke, the white robed priest came in and said to him, the council waits for you. Then Yahshua stood again before the bar. Again, no word was said. The Hierophant or magician or high priest placed his hand, a scroll on which was written, philanthropy. And Yahshua was a victor over selfish self, right? So Yahshua passes yet again another test. Islam Ali Khan.
Islam.
Right, we see Yahshua passes yet again another test. He didn't even feel comfortable laughing with the group that was spitting on frail women, right? Turning away children. And he passed yet another test, right? That's his fourth. He in that mode, right? Anybody got any thoughts on the chapter? I want to open the floor for thoughts and analysis. Islam, Lacey, go ahead.
Yes, Islam. So while you were reading, I quoted, the wise man is the one who seeks for pleasure and can find it everywhere. And towards the end, what did he say? Find pleasure. I think it's on the other page, but I will call it pleasure when I help the helpless, feed the hungry, clothe the naked, heal the sick, and speak good words of cheer to those unloved, discouraged, and depressed. And that really hit home with me because it's all about helping each other, uplifting each other. And I see that, he's just sitting back observing all of these men, treating this woman horrible, the child, the man, and they're just laughing about it. And he couldn't have any parts of that. It's just not in his character. Um, so it really shows how selfless he is, I believe.
Islam, Islam.
It's
Yeah. Any other thoughts or anybody else?
Islam.
Islam.
It kind of reminds me of like people that go through like a Cinderella story, where one family member may be doing more of the work, maybe have less of the food, less of the better clothes, less of the care. Everybody else having a good old time while they slaving away. And then it's like if you were go to visit that house, how would you feel watching that one do everything while everybody else have? Could you just join in with the rest of the family, or would you want to help the one that's not, it puts you in that position like where he's at right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And
What would Yeshua do?
right. That's the question, right? That's the question, because we're talking about even the title of ruler, right? We know it's a measuring stick, right? So what we Yahshua do, that's all we're really saying is we saying these high priests, these nobles were a measuring stick of how we want to pattern our life in principle. Islam, Hanuta, happy Mercury Day.
Oh, yes. Islam. Happy Mercury Day, everybody.
But yeah, so it's right there. Any other thoughts on this chapter before we transition?
That's one thought.
Islam.
So it's reminding me to lead with the servant's heart. And that's what I'm really getting from it.
Humble as a dove, wise as a serpent. Yeah.
Real talk, Islam.
Islam. Yeah, because when you humble, all that stuff kind of pops out to you. It's like somebody stabbing you. Like, what you just do right now? I was unhumanitarian act. What are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? It just you just can't see. You know what I mean? So you got something right, Leon?
Yeah, this chapter also sounds like what you were talking about earlier, where it's no longer like the dojo. He's live action, even with it's not the priest this time. It's another live action scenario though. You know what I'm saying? So it's like he's still having to catch himself everywhere he's going.
Hey, he said he not in the dojo no more. This is live. Circle 7, dojo.
Yeah.
Secret Brotherhood, all tests. Live. You know what I mean? So it's beautiful when you really conceptualize everything and you marinate and you see the principles, man. Like, it's a beautiful thing, you know.
Islam.
Islam. All right. Let's transition to some due process. Cause and effect. I'm gonna emphasize because the secretary will see the recording later. So we're transitioning to due process. Cause and effect. One of the primal issues for Moors to comprehend when understanding how to file a suit or simply achieve an objective to the extent that is desired is knowing that there is no step-by-step process or procedure as it relates to a blank outline for all Moors or people in general to follow. Of course, there are fundamental principles that all scholars, adepts, and masters know, and upon these principles, the ideology of the phrase, quote, proper procedure is born. Yet, it is simply aligning oneself with eternal principles. This principle is cause and effect. Because you did A, B, and C procedure, as a result, some desired effect or something desirable happened, the effect. While understanding the above principle, the prominence of issues of law superseding issues of fact must be known. The issues of law are upon which your issue of facts have standing. Right? So your issues of facts have to be substantiated with issues of law. As an example, if a Moor desires to have an issue brought before the federal United States District Court or the federal court, due process must be adhered to in order for that issue to be heard. One of the first steps in filing a claim in district court is filing out a civil complaint sheet whereby the issue of jurisdiction must be addressed in regards to the nature of the suit. See Article 3 of the Constitution and Title 28, United States Code, Section 1332. 3 primal issues at law. 3 primal issues at law. 1, status. 2, jurisdiction or venue. 3, adjudication. What is adjudication? The outcome of a case has been decided, right? A decision, a judgment. That's the order. And the 3 primal issues at law, right? The 14th Amendment is what is used to claim personam jurisdiction. See congressional record. Properly filing out or properly filling out the information and declaring the parties dealing with the 3 primal issues at law, along with stating the actual injury, are the basis upon which a court moves, i.e., cause and effect. The cause would be the injury. The effect will be the court moving against the defendants. Beyond this or in between points of law and the overall adjudication and presentment of substantiating facts stands the individual and their own competence. Their own competence. Competence. What is competence? Right? Let's think about what competence is. Know-how. Right? Equipped. As an example, if a court comes to a decision that is not favorable to you, either as a defendant or plaintiff, and your remedy is not provided, you can respond with an appeal to a superior court. The way this appeal is written is on a case-by-case basis, issue of fact. The appeal itself is the principle of law you are to use in order to again achieve your desired outcome. In law, an appeal is the process in which cases are reviewed, where parties request a formal change to an official decision. Although some courts permit appeals at preliminary stages of litigation, most litigants appeal final orders and judgments from lower courts. A fundamental premise of many legal systems is that appellate courts review questions of law, de novo or anew. But appellate courts do not conduct independent fact findings. Instead, appellate courts will generally defer to the record established by the trial courts known as stare decisis or res judicata. Unless some error occurred during the fact finding, right? So it's important to know the facts or incorporate the facts in any filings, because if you get an unfavorable reply, you push it up, right? That's what's being expressed. And now the appellate courts are designed to see if it was an error based on what was said, on both sides, and then measure that against the res judicata or the cases that have been decided already, and were they mentioned in the first place? Right. Okay. Somebody's decisions made by other courts which help form the common law in order to either reverse or sustain the decision of the lower court. Because the courts of appeal possess only appellate jurisdiction. They do not hold trials. Only courts with original jurisdiction pursuant to the Constitution hold trials, and thus determine punishments in criminal cases and remedies in civil cases. Keep in mind, as remedy before going to the trial stage of a case, a preliminary settlement or out-of-court settlement can be made between the parties as a remedy or recourse to avoid trial. Instead, appeal courts review decisions of trial courts for errors of law, right? So that's the function of the appellate, to see if the lower court made an error in law based on what was filed, right? So make sure all the affidavits got all the law in there. So when it's time for the second, third stages, it won't be like you're coming up with new arguments, because you can't do that. You can't come up with new points later in the game. You got to stick with what you stuck with originally, the original filings.
Islam. I just want to, I don't know if excuse me, Nobles. I just came home and I smoked me real nice one. It takes me very spiritual, and I'm listening to this, and I just have to say where I went with how you explaining due process in the physical form. My mind went all the way spiritual to looking at the same process of the law that we are processing for something physical here with the courts. That same process operates for us in another dimension of where we are elevating to, like that. And we don't see it. It's a due process of you're operating from your higher self to request life, to request whatever thoughts your thoughts are manifesting, and those manifestations of what you're creating has to go through a law. It's going through a process. It's going through, the different dimensions of, like you're saying, the courts you go through. This is so dynamically creative how Allah is breaking down the law from the physical to the spiritual. I don't know if you guys see that, but I was just tripping. Am I tripping?
I see. I'm tracking. I'm tracking.
You follow that? It's like that whole dimension, it operates in the same law order that you're saying we have to go through due process. And for us to manifest our life every day, we are in due process. We're going through the laws of I'm gonna create. Okay, how are you gonna create? The thoughts you create, and I gotta live, I gotta work, I gotta create, I have to manifest, and you're doing it through the process of these courts, just like we have to get to what is it that you're trying to seek in the courts. Okay, well, what are you seeking in the higher dimension?
Right.
And it's the same physical process just described.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I had to get that out. I just had to get that out. I didn't mean to interrupt you guys, but that's where I went with that.
That's good. That's good.
Islam. Yeah.
Islam.
Nah, that was a good bill right now.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, Islam.
Islam.
All right, so now we know the function of the Court of the Appeals. They're just going to go and check the record to see if it was an error based on what they call the plaintiff and the defendant, right? So that's why it's imperative, once again, the original filing needs to be on point with the case law and the jurisdiction that you're asserting and things of that nature.
That's right. Make sure that you are in the right jurisdiction when you are putting in a request with your thoughts, which right. You're asking for. Make sure you right. Are you right in your jurisdiction?
Right. And that's the prerequisite, because what you're essentially saying is, are you right internally? Because if a society is right internally, and that goes back to what we were talking about on Sunday, as far as if a society is baptized, right, in a sense.
Okay, in a sense, yes. Okay. Mm-hmm.
They baptized with the truth, what sets their soul on fire to be a humanitarian and form like Voltron, right? Like that's the pecking order, number one with that, right? Is
necessary.
You know what I mean? So once that's the case, if that's the case and you end up in those courts and you on that,
yes,
it's clear as day.
It's powerful.
Yeah, it's too powerful. You know what I'm saying? Like
that's too powerful. That's too powerful of a force together, and it has to manifest because that's how they say. We have to be of one mind, and that one mind is going to be the power that's going to make that manifestation. But it has to be one mind.
Right. Yeah. It's all. You see all the laws at play. Hermetic.
All the laws, they all coming together. Oh my God.
Divine. All laws is in play, right? All laws in play. All right. So, got something, Razion?
Yeah, this just reminded me of a scene in the last Doctor Strange. They were trying to protect one of their temples, and they were using a spell where everybody has like a smaller shield, but combined they make a greater shield, a spiritual shield. And so what she did was she started, when she couldn't penetrate the shield because they were in one thought, as Mother just said, she started trying to whisper the thoughts into them individually to try to get them to break their position. And finally she found one that, ego or whatever else she used to break the thought. And then once she got into that one, she could make him hurt another one and another one, then that breaks the whole shield.
Mm-hmm.
See, but
Mm-hmm.
yield.
Islam.
Islam, that's a good example. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's funny how that stuff it pops out after you get this information. You'll think in hindsight of different things you saw, especially
Yeah.
movies. And you
Mm-hmm.
that's the plot. That's the plot right there. It got revealed to me. That was the lesson. You know what I mean? The
Mm-hmm.
principle. All right, so let me just read a couple more pages. All right. Accordingly, an appeals court considers only the record, i.e., the papers parties filed, and the transcripts and any exhibits from any trial from the trial court, and the legal arguments of the parties. These arguments, which are presented in written form, can range in length from dozens to hundreds of pages, which are on a case-by-case basis and are known as briefs. Issues of law are usually analyzed or proposed as a yes or no question, followed by a why. As an example, was a crime committed? Issue of law. Question. Answer. No, a crime was not committed. That's the answer to why. Because there is no injured party. That's an issue of fact. Because there is no injured party is an issue of fact. Why is it an issue of fact? Because one case law, Sheriff versus Cullen, this is one example, where it's been ruled already that for there to be a crime, there must be an injured party, right? So that's an example why it's an issue of fact. It is a requirement that there must be an injured party or corpus delicti in order for a crime to exist. When dealing with any issues or controversies between a Moor and a citizen of the United States, the issue of law is diversity. What is diversity? The root word is diverse. What is diverse? Different. What is different? Not the same. Different citizens, different nationality. Diversity, that's the issue of law, diversity. Right? That's taken us to Article 3 of the Constitution, Section 1 and 2, on how to handle matters of diversity, which is codified in the Consular Notification and Access Manual issued by the Department of State. The only courts that have subject matter jurisdiction would be the federal courts, right? See Article 3, like I just said, of the Constitution. When dealing with this venue, we are dealing with the principles of the active state doctrine. If anybody got questions on active state doctrine, just ask, take a mental note. We'll talk about it on the back end. Considering the United States are a quasi-nation with sovereignty over its internal affairs, the Moorish people cannot adjudicate over them and vice versa, unless we are citizens of their quasi-nation state and their citizens of our nation. But since the 14th Amendment was never ratified, this is not the case. Thus, in order for the Moors to get a desired outcome by judicial order against any U.S. citizen, one of their judges must issue said order. This can only happen when a claim is filed, whether it be an enforcement of a lien, estoppel, a suit, a tort claim, claim of reparations, claim of adverse possession, remedy for wrong termination, etc. So let's read the definition of motion. In parliamentary law, the formal mode in which a member submits a proposed measure or resolve for the consideration and action of the meeting, an application made to a court or judge for purpose of obtaining a rule or order directing some act to be done in favor of the applicant. It is usually made with the framework of an existing action or proceeding and is ordinarily made on notice. But some motions may be made without notice. One without notice is called an ex parte motion, written or oral application to the court for ruling or order made before, such as motion to dismiss, during, such as motion for directed verdict, or after, motion of new trial. For requisite form of motions, see the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, 7 Section B. So, if you want to get acquainted with the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, you can Google that, put PDF next to your search, and then you have different versions, different editions of that, right? Motion for judgment. Now, even though I'm hearing motion, me personally, I never will say motion. It'll always be a writ. But most of these de facto courts, that's how they're going to receive it. So just know that based on how they're looking at it, you want to know what that means in their stuff. Because sometimes you'll just catch them up. You'll catch them up on have something that's favorable in their stuff. So just scan through it. Right. All right. So motion for judgment, notwithstanding verdict. A motion that judgment be entered in accordance with the movement's earlier motion for a directed verdict, and notwithstanding the contrary verdict actually returned by the jury. Motion for judgment on pleadings. Under Federal Rules Civil Procedure, any party, or Section 12, subsection C, any party may move after the pleadings are closed for judgment thereon. It is a device for disposing of cases when the material facts are not in dispute and only questions of law remain. See also summary judgment. And that's what a summary judgment is. You're saying I need a ruling based on the facts of law. Based on boom, 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 these facts of law, this needs to take place. Boom, 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 boom. I need a summary judgment in my favor. That's what that, and research summary judgment on your own. Motion for more definite statement. If a pleading is so vague or ambiguous that a party cannot reasonably be required to frame a responsive pleading, he may move for a more definitive statement. Motion for new trial. A request that the judge set aside the judgment and order a new trial on the basis that the trial was improper or unfair due to specified prejudicial errors that occurred. Motion to dismiss. One which is generally interposed before trial to attack the action on the basis of insufficiency of the pleading of process, venue, or joinder, etc. And that correlates to Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, Section 12B. Motion to strike. One which is generally interposed before trial to attack the action on the basis of insufficiency of the pleading. I just read that. Motion to strike. On motion of either party, the court may order stricken from any pleading, any insufficient defense, or any redundant, immaterial, impertinent, or scandalous matter. Motion to suppress. Which is a device to eliminate from the trial a criminal case evidence which has been secured illegally, generally in violation of the Fourth Amendment, which deals with search and seizure. The Fifth Amendment, which deals with privilege against self-incrimination, or the Sixth Amendment, right to assistance of counsel, or right to confront the accuser. Confront the accuser. So when we think Sixth Amendment, we think injured party. That's the injured party amendment. Because if we're saying if the Sixth Amendment or the Sixth Bill of Rights is saying we got the right to face our accuser, we're basically saying there's an injured party. Where's the person that said I injured them, filled out an affidavit with evidence, filed it, signed it? Where's that at? Is there a human being? Right? So think Sixth Amendment. All right. Motion for directed verdict. A party's request that the court enter judgment in its favor before submitting the case to the jury because there is no legally sufficient evidentiary foundation on which a reasonable jury could find for the other party. Under the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, the equivalent court paper is known as a motion for judgment as a matter of law. Motion for judgment as a matter of law. A party's request that the court enter a judgment in its favor before the case is submitted to the jury or after the contrary jury verdict, because there is no legally sufficient evidence or evidentiary basis on which a jury could find for the other party. Under the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, a party may move for judgment as a matter of law anytime before the case has been submitted to the jury. This kind of motion was formerly known as a motion for directed verdict and still is in many jurisdictions. If the motion is denied and the case is submitted to the jury, resulting in unfavorable verdict, the motion may be reviewed within 10 days after the entry of the judgment. This aspect of the motion replaces the court paper formerly known as motion for judgment notwithstanding the verdict. So that'll be the last, I'll close out right here. I'll stop this segment. And look at the chat. Yeah, Islam. Quasicoto. Yeah, man. So I just want to open the floor for thoughts, any questions, anything.
Islam.
I'll go ahead.
Good, brother.
Yeah, Islam. Whoever got a question, go ahead.
All right. No, what I was going to ask is, isn't there a way to get the case dismissed based on the fact that it is a writ and they changed it to a motion?
Okay, so a writ that just means a command on paper or affidavit, right?
Yeah.
So that's them changing it to a motion. That's just something that you're gonna have to assert an open court. You know, Because once again, you want to have everything uniform for what they call some more superior courts that going up the chain. Because as we read, the appellate gonna deal with the application of the law. So as long as it's on the record, you saying it's an affidavit, or you saying it's a writ,
Mhm.
and then it's on that's gonna mean that it's also on the record that they kept trying to say, no, it's a motion.
Exactly. Mhm.
So that's all it's about. Is showing that what happened. What's the court record gonna say? Show is it gonna show that you asserted all your standing and did you show a competency basically?
Right, standing on your square.
Yeah, that's what yeah, basically. Because they're gonna yeah, it's live.
Um, I had a question too. It was pretty much the question that he asked, but also, how would you spell writ, or what is, or before I could look it up.
WRIT.
WRIT. All right.
Yeah, the writ is very important. That's how we do a lot of everything we're trying to do. A lot of it's in writ.
All right. Appreciate it. It's
It's live.
Um, um, so when you were talking about instead of doing motions to do a writ, and would you find more information for that on like RV Bay about going about that process of writing a writ?
Yeah, there's information on there. For sure. Have you been on there before?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, they go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, you can go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just curious because on the left-hand column, they have a couple sections where you can, I think it's like 2 sections just speaking on writs. And you can kind of just explore, but essentially, once you get, I guess, get a look at their templates,
Mhm.
idea, for later, you want to get to a point where you kind of doing your own. You can draft your own writs from your own thoughts, but that's
Mhm.
a good place to get the template. And after that, it's just knowing the principles and having it flow. And then you want to conclude it with. Have you heard of the 10 Maxims of the Law? Are you familiar with that?
I want to say I possibly have, but right now it's not coming to my mind. 10 maxims of law.
Yeah. Maxims. Yep.
I-
Check that out. And one of the maxims is in your affidavit, you want to conclude it with saying like I solemnly swear. Like you want to put it under oath that what you're saying is the truth. And in our case, under the laws of you can say the Moorish nation, under the divineness and the nobleness of our ancestors, you can put you can put the holy books, you can mention all type of stuff in your conclusion. But you want to wrap it up by saying, I solemnly swear that that's the truth based on the principles of whatever you put. But yeah, and then the affidavit in itself, when you look up affidavit, you're just saying truth on paper. And you swear it's the truth on paper. So now it needs to be rebutted.
Of why it's the truth and stands as the truth.
Right. You saying what I'm saying right now could be cross-examined. What I'm saying, is verifiable. And it's up, that's why things are in affidavit form in the first place. Because you're saying, I swear that this is the truth.
It's
Islam.
Any other questions?
You know, you said make or I started the act of state doctrine because I haven't heard of that either.
Okay, so the act of state doctrine is a principle based on a court case that was between the Republic of Cuba and the United States. The United States had businesses over there. And what happened was the people united together, and when the people of the land do things like that, it's called nationalizing the area. So the people was like, you don't have no more interest in anything over here. Y'all not from here. We don't want to do business with you guys. The United States sued the Republic of Cuba and lost. That court case. And once again, the United States had investments in businesses and cotton production and all type of things. And when the Cubans said, "No, we're not having that no more," right? That's the principle. And the United States people got mad and turned around and attempted to sue Republic of Cuba. And they lost, right? So now res judicata, right? Case law, use that in principle to say, like, look, we Moors here, right? In principle, we're saying we're Aboriginal, indigenous to the land, right? Especially once again, like we talked about earlier, once all of Compton and Watts know who they are, you know what I'm saying? And we just invoke law on all levels, right? Divine, physical, internal, external, right? But yeah.
Islam.
And I just want to say, I really appreciate y'all, and this is just jewels right now dropping on us, and it's very valuable to me right now because they're actually coming after me with some stuff, and it's all fraudulent, it's all fraud, like according to just right there, and it says, and for the motion to dismiss, like everything that they're saying, it's just fraud. Like there's no injured party. I'm not a felon. They're just coming at me with colorable codes and trying to get me to submit. They're trying to throw a couple what's it called, plea deals, but yeah, I know it's all fraud, bro.
Especially the plea, super fraud.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're trying to scare me into all taking these pleas, and I'm just not having it. Like, especially with this information, and I've actually been researching my own, but this is only further confirmation that. Only further confirmation.
I'll be back in 5 minutes. Y'all just keep chopping it up. I'll be right back.
All right. But yep. That's why I know, like, there's a divine time for everything. Like, I feel like, yeah, they're attacking or whatever, but I got all the tools I need.
Islam.
I'm gonna win.
Yep.
So yeah, I just wanted to express my gratitude. I'm grateful for you guys, grateful for y'all, and Islam.
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 That's very true. They're gonna try to definitely scare you. That's the name of the game, is the fear, scare
Yeah.
you to put yourself in a situation where you can't get out of. They want you to walk into it by
Yep, yep. They
using
want me to
fear.
admit guilt to something I never, something that like literally there's no, they have nothing. I didn't
Exactly.
commit a crime, and they even I'll put it to you this way, they even came in and kidnapped me.
Yeah.
Try to do a
Yeah.
kick door type shit.
Mhm.
There's no injured party. There's no,
Right.
I didn't steal nothing. It's just, I didn't enter no contracts willingly. It's just hearsay, and they're trying to get me. I feel like they're trying to attack me before, uh, you know, I even like try to kill a weed before it grows. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. That's how they've been surviving this whole time, Um, just basically betting on our
Yep.
ignorance, that we're not gonna say nothing, that
Exactly.
we're not gonna do
Exactly.
nothing,
Yep.
that we're not gonna know nothing. And then when you start putting on record, like, okay, actually, like, oh my God, like, they know something, then they could just try to scare you. If not, like, they gotta back up. Then
And
big bad
exactly, I
asses
wasn't
gotta
I
back
wasn't
up.
having it. I didn't back down. I'm like, I don't got nothing to hide. I don't got, I've been through this before too, and they
Right,
didn't come after me like this back then when I was, and now
right.
that I'm not doing nothing. I'm clean. I've been, just studying and trying to do right. And
Yeah.
it's crazy that now that I'm on a better path, they come full force. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, but I have faith, and I ain't scared. I ain't gonna admit to something I did not do. It's not
Right.
right.
It's
Yeah.
I'm noticing right now, because I give thanks for you sharing that more. And I'm noticing with my own coming in communications with these policy enforcers, when you do start to ask questions, like I'm asking question, is there a crime committed? Is there an injured party? It's getting under their skin. And I asked the guy, I said, how long you been, doing this for? And he said a year. And I really wanted to say I can tell, because they're just trying to tell us things to confuse us. And then that
Yeah.
the whole threat, the rest, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what they pretty much did to me as well. Like, for instance, I went to check on my daughter last Friday and get her for my week with her, and the policy enforcers were called on me, and they couldn't do anything and get my daughter to me or any of that. But when I was trying to leave, they're like, oh, what is your name? What's your first and last name? And I'm like, why do you need that? And I'm asking them questions. And pretty much when I'm asking, like, is there an injured party? And I'm not giving them the information, that's when they started threatening me. And it was two male policy
Yep.
enforcement. And they're like, well, if you attempt to leave and flee, we can get you for this and that. And you have a driver. And because it wasn't like my car and everything, I didn't want to put that on the person who was driving. So I said, you know what? You just go ahead. I'll be here. And during that point, they were starting to get hostile. And when I said I'm a flesh and blood human being, he pulled out his notepad real quick and was kind of just basically like, give me your name, your social, this, that, and the third. We need you to sign this paperwork, even though there's no injured party there. But we just, that's why we're here, and I'm grateful for all of you all.
Yes, ma'am. That's what they do. Like, that's why, like, I ain't. The worst thing they could do is, put me back in the holding cell. But they gotta. It's fraudulent. They already did it once, and it's just fraud. Like they literally just kidnapped me for no reason, just because they felt like it. And that ain't right.
Right.
And yeah, they make these threats like, oh, you know, we can do this the easy way or the hard way, you know. You can take this plea deal, or we can. I mean, I've been through this, and now that I'm not doing that, like, there's nothing that I'm doing wrong. Like, all I've been doing is studying, working. I don't even do the things party or nothing. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
It's like now that I'm doing the best for myself, they want to come at me full force with, I cut ties with a lot of people, family, and for the betterment of myself. And I feel like now that they see that, like, I guess it's a threat, or I don't know, but I'm not,
Yeah.
I ain't gonna back down. I ain't gonna be scared. Like, we've been through it. Like, what is there to be scared of? Or, there ain't nothing to be scared of. They've been doing this to all our past generations and everything. Like,
Mhm.
when is it gonna stop? If we don't stop it, it ain't gonna stop.
Exactly.
That's when we all competent.
Exactly.
We can go get any of ours out of any situation when they kidnap you too. So we all got to be competent.
Yep, exactly. Like, that's what I was saying. Like, for the most part, I was being respectful when I was in there. But then they were just holding me for pretty much like everybody was you know there was a flow. People were coming in and out, and they just had me and like some other dude. And I'm like, so you guys are just fucking with me. You guys just have me here, you know. But they had to let me go, and now that I've been reading and only confirmation of what what we just went over. These are all my tools that I gotta, I just gotta make it happen.
Hmm.
Yeah, man. And just know, just exhaust your remedy, man. Take it all the way up.
Yeah. Look. I did scrape up some funds together, but I gotta go put it in the bank. So I do want to get that book, the March Tactical, because I feel like
Yeah.
it's up there.
Yeah, need all your tools, man. Most things that you comprehend, man, that you feel.
Yep, flesh and, like you said, flesh and blood human beings. They don't want to hear. They don't want to hear stuff like that. Give me your social. Let me see your ID.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They want you to say that they're their property.
Yeah.
They want to
No.
own you.
No, sir. I don't understand what you're talking about, but no, sir.
Yeah. Can't be like the human of a corporation.
I feel like it's kind of cool to kill him with kindness too, because
Mhm.
sometimes you never know. You could be awakening a cop and get a cop to kind of think twice and maybe not necessarily switch sides, but maybe be a
Become
little bit
aware.
more be a little more respectful next time. You know what I'm saying? Shit like that. But
I mean, that's what I said.
I know it's
At the end of
hard,
the
man.
day,
Ever since we were youngsters, we always be a smart ass to the cops, laugh at them when they make mistakes and shit. You know what I mean? But I mean, now that we're older, I feel like it's good to treat them. You know what I mean? Obviously, stand your ground, be competent. To also be physically inclined, just to be in control. And still kill them with kindness on top of that. I mean, how can you lose?
Yeah, man. It's different energy, man. But yeah, And of course, like once again, if the ratio swapped and it was the percentages wasn't so like the people that know who they are, the small percentage, it was flipped, then we're talking about a whole nother situation as well. So like we're talking about prerequisites now. Like, and you know, you gotta pick your battles, man. Like, you know, and what's the all be all, right? Right, like the Empress say, right? Love, the love principle, working with each other, infrastructure, getting businesses going, being industrious, and expansion. Because now you have a track record over the years of like, okay, this is clearly what they're about. So this is why they, you know, exercise. So it all comes together, man. You want the competency, of course, but we need the people. You know, we the people. You know, so the people got to be on the same page, or at least, you know, enough like clusters of people pockets where it's momentum, and then it's a consistency, and great things that happen, man. You know,
Islam.
so you see it. You see it all around you. You see the you
Yes,
see
sir.
that got hell on earth, and you see the people that got heaven on earth.
Yes,
But
sir.
back to the Hermetic principle, right? So it's in play. You can see who got heaven on earth versus who got hell on earth. Who going through the shit? Who depressed? Who got broken families? Who who got businesses? Who teaching their children how to run the businesses so they can be continual, right? Who's not? Who don't got care in the world, right? Spaceships down the street, right? Brand new cars, big houses, industrials,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's the prerequisite.
Mm-hmm.
Prerequisite, right? You get taken seriously when you're moving like that.
Mm-hmm. The due process of the law in that dimension.
Yeah, that's
You put the due process of the law in that dimension. You're gonna manifest all of that. All of that's gonna manifest. You in due process. Oh my God. The energies are manifesting that what you put forth. If you go in the court and the court is deciding, are you worthy? Are you ready to have that? Are we gonna manifest it for you? Okay, we're gonna put some stuff in motion. Okay, she ready, he ready, they ready.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, you know, it makes you, you know, it's supposed to be a humbling experience, and the motive, you know, it exposes motive too, because when the sole motivation is just like, you know, getting out of something, that's why you're entertaining the movement. That's a whole nother, because now you're looking at the movement like a club or or a vehicle to escape something versus a humanitarian movement. You joining a brother and sisterhood, a network of people that you want to put on the same playing field that you would, or somebody that you share blood with, or immediate family, right? So that's the part where it's a fine line, right, of comprehension of what it's about. And of course, you know, the bigger we get, the more we can do on all levels, economically, the vibration alone. Just, you know what that looks like when it's a sea of our people acting right, not arguing, not arguing. Even if it's just like 1,000, that's a small number, but just in the one area you got unity. That just look beautiful. You know what I mean? Um, you know what I'm saying? Islam. You got something, Goddess?
Islam, yeah, when you just were speaking of the unity, humanitarian. It just brought me back to the chapter you read at first. Yeshua passes the fourth brotherhood test, takes the fourth degree of adept. It just kind of, I feel like, goes hand in hand with each other. You know, he sees that these are my people, this is my family. I'm going to help uplift them. I'm not going to sit here and look down upon them or treat them wrong. I see they're in a low place. They might be struggling. I'm going to reach my hand out to them. We're all going to come up together. And I have all love for all of you all. And I give so much thanks to the honor to be here.
Wow, that's an honor. Likewise.
Islam.
Mhm. Yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts?
Yeah, I got a T-shirt out there for you.
Okay. What you got?
Moorish American, not a diet, a lifestyle.
Not a diet, a lifestyle. You said not a diet?
Okay.
Yeah, man. That's crazy because I was just thinking about, I gotta come up with one more. And I was gonna get on that tonight too, kind of just like with some combinations, but yeah.
Play
Yeah.
around with it. You can work it out some kind of way.
Yeah, no, I like that though, man. I like that. For sure, man. So we got Empress Lacey, Friday on the Holy Day. Her presentation on how she digested Moorish Tactical. After that will be Ali Khan Bey. I would imagine the following week, or I guess we'll figure out how much time we need or whatnot. But yeah. So we're moving along with that. Does anybody have any thoughts before we close out here? All right. Well, everybody have a beautiful day of Mercury. And I will see everybody on the Holy Day. Peace and love to everybody.
Peace and love.
Happy Mercury Day. Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Islam.
And love, Nobles.
Islam.